Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Andrew from SaberSim here to do our build review show for Tuesday, August 6th, reviewing slates from either yesterday or the weekend, depending on what users have been playing here. So we do have 3 names on the list for today, possibly a 4th one here, or that one might get rolled over to tomorrow. So we'll see what's going on. But super excited for this build review show here. If you guys enjoy these, if you guys want to participate, you can always enter your name in the office hours channel in Discord. Just drop your username in there, and that gives us what we need to be able to review your builds live on stream here. So we always appreciate that. But let's get this SaberSim app pulled up here and jump into our first user here. So this is going to be Raf LP in the Discord here. Wanted us to review the Sunday MLB main slate. So Raf is on the ultimate plan here, and I have him pulled up. So let's jump into his contest selection first. And taking a peek here, you know, I'm not going to do like the exact math, but this looks really good, right? We see a big mix of single entry and 3 max and then mostly 20 max, right? 20 max, 150 max go together. He spent most of his bankroll allocation on the 20 maxes, which is totally fine, right? So we're seeing all the good contests: $1 single, $3 single, $5 single, $1 3 max, $3 3 max, $5 3 max, 25-cent 20 max, $1 20, 1, 2, 3, 3 dime times, right? Multiple solo shots. He's even playing the respawn contest. Like, this is great. So rather than, you know, getting all of his bankroll in at one time, he's waiting for some of those other contests to open up and then entering and continuing to enter more and more small stakes contests. So I think this is a very, very solid approach here. All right. So then as far as reviewing a contest, sort by total prize pool, and we will do this, the bigger solo shot, the initial one here, 14,000 entries. He did max this one out. So let's jump in here, see what we're seeing. Jump over to users. All right. Raf LP, 20 entries. Let's do filter for 20, sort by sim ROI. So pretty good here. We've done Raf before. I do not remember what he came in at the first time we did this, but just taking a peek here, right? He's at about 11% sim ROI. Some of the highest sim ROIs are like in the high teens, early 20s, but overall very good, right? I would say he's still, you know, he's still very positive. He's up here probably in like the top 30 if I had to like guess here. So pretty good. So let's see what we can see, right? Average salary, very similar to like the top portfolios. Uniqueness looks good. Sim ROI doesn't look, I'm sorry, sim average score doesn't look bad at all, right? We see a mix, right? We see somebody in the top with 103, somebody in the top with 100, 103, 100, 100, 100, and he's sitting at 101.4. So I don't think there's anything wrong with his sim average score. It might just come down to maybe some of the decisions he made. So let's jump into his set and see what his lineups look like. So stacking, mostly 4 stack and above, a couple 3-2-2s, a lot of Milwaukee, like 45%. Milwaukee was one of 3 teams with over a 5 run total here. So probably pretty chalky, right? Like top exposure is Milwaukee, followed by Minnesota. Minnesota, another team here with a high run total. Interesting that the White Sox are the 3rd highest, and they have the tied for the lowest total on the slate here. So that's kind of interesting. I'm actually really interested to see how those specific lineups grade out, right? So let's jump in here and let's look at the White Sox stacks, right? We can filter for them and say, hey, you know, let's see what White Sox stacks look like. So this lineup actually ended up doing pretty well overall and graded out well sim ROI wise. 18% sim ROI, actual ROI 300%. Another White Sox stack, 24% sim ROI. And then another one 12, another one 16. So super interesting that, hey, you know, these White Sox stacks with the, you know, lowest run total actually graded out really well here, the way that he played them, right? So we actually really like to see that. Locking Skeens here isn't terrible, right? If you look at his actual ownership, comes in at 54%, he's still 2x the field, right? That's not a ton of leverage here. So locking him, not the worst decision. These Milwaukee players did end up with a ton of ownership, right? 20%, 20%, and he has some small leverage on them. So like having 45% Milwaukee isn't that bad when they're 20% owned, right? He's, 2.5x the field or 2.25, whatever the math ends up working out there. But I say this to say that I think his leverages are fine. If you find yourself in a spot where it's like, hey, I'm not sure, I'm not seeing anything that is standing out, nothing like is screaming, hey, my lineups are bad. How do I improve them? Well, then what I would do is I would go and look at some of the portfolios that did well, right? So we've looked at his lineups and they look pretty solid. And, he did play a good set, right? 11% sim ROI. Well, let's go and look at what some of these other people who graded out better, some of the decisions that they made, right? And maybe we look at the top two here. So M-Dub's highest sim ROI, 23%. Played exclusively 5 stacks, right? Didn't play anything less than a 5 stack. Hammered Milwaukee. Matched ownership on Skeens. Took a shot on Argetty. So these were, his like quote unquote big stands here. Biggest differences to me are the difference between matching Skeens versus hammering him. And then he took a shot on a lower owned pitcher as opposed to the chalk pitcher, right? And whether it worked out for him or not is kind of irrelevant. But what you could do here, right, is you could come in here and say, hey, I want to see his highest sim ROI lineups, and I want to see the players that are making those lineups up, right? So I can come in here, sort by sim ROI, highest to lowest. And like see what these lineups look like. So first thing that stands out to me, no Skeens. He did have a 5 stack of Milwaukee here. Because he still had, half of his lineups, 11 out of the 20 had Skeens, right? So it's kind of important, like, hey, what lineups had him, which ones didn't, right? Again, we don't see him. So he's in the 4th lineup, 39%. He's in the 5th, in the 6th. In the lineups that had Paul Skeens, how did he use them? How did he get to a high sim ROI, right? I think that's important information. So projection score is about 104. Sorry if the stream's a little laggy here. What I was saying is like, okay, how is he getting to a higher sim ROI with still playing Skeens, with even Argetty too? Big things that stand out to me. He's using all the hitters in the lineup for Milwaukee, right? We see a 6-7-9 stack here, right? 3, 5, 6, 7, 9. You see the ownership of these guys, right? 7 hitter, 8%, 9 hitter, 3%, 6 hitter, 9%, a little less than 10. And then we see, 2 hitters here, very good hitters, but with very low ownership, right? Even all 3 guys here, right? 3% owned, J Ram, CJ Abrams, and Lane Thomas, right? this is super interesting how he mixes these guys in, right? And you know, I don't know what tool he uses, how he builds his lineup, whatever, but you know, seeing this tells me like, okay, hey, I'm wondering, did Raf get to all of the hitters in the Milwaukee lineup or not, right? And that's something that like I want to go check. We're seeing low owned hitters again. We're seeing, you know, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2 for we're seeing a 2, 3, 5 Blue Jays secondary stack. We're seeing set. Sorry for the lagginess. I don't know why it's like extra bad right now. It's fine during office hours, but you know, chalky pitcher, chalky stack, but his construction for the chalky stack is different, right? Making sure he's using lower owned hitters in that lineup, and then this like secondary stack where the players are good, right? Like 2, 3, 4 for the Pirates, you know, Reynolds, Cruz, De La Cruz, but even they're low owned, right? 5%, 5%, 6%. So kind of seeing a trend here on some of the highest sim ROI lineups that this guy's getting to. So, you know, there's definitely some things to take away here. Okay, now let's go and look at some of these builds. So I think I want to go to this quarter jukebox / solo. So he's decided to split his build into 4 builds. Hey, these are my dime times. These are my single entries where the prize pool is 1,000 or maybe first place prize. I'm not sure. It might be prize pool is less than 1,000. And then these are mine where the prize pool is greater than 1,000, right? So I think that's totally okay to do it that way. So we know he locked Skeens. I want to go with team stacks. Interesting. So we see that he built 40 lineups here, right? So 20 in the quarter, 20 in the solo. Okay, so the 1K is entries, not prize pool. So 20 in the solo, 20 in the quarter. Now, it's actually not that much Milwaukee here, which I'm kind of surprised to see. It seems like most of the Milwaukee got into the solo. But let's go and click, right? Like, okay, hey, we see Milwaukee top owned stack. So then when I go and filter by them here in my table, and then this might be the biggest difference here, is that other person that we looked at, and you could do this for multiple people, right? That M-Dubs person, you know, their highest similar lineups that we were seeing, they were Milwaukee 5 stacks, but most of them included a lot of these lower in the order hitters, right? You know, I'm only seeing 1 lineup with the 9 hitter from Milwaukee. I'm only seeing 2 lineups with the 8 hitter, 4 lineups with 7, 4 lineups with 6, which isn't terrible, right? Like that's the same as the 4 hitter. You know, we're seeing 6 lineups with number 1, 5 lineups with number 2, 10 lineups with number 3, you know, 4, 5, 4, 4, 2, 1. But I think the biggest difference is that, you know, even projected ownership wise, 9 hitters projected for 5%, 8 hitters projected for 9%, compared to these other guys that are like 15, 11, 18, 16, 17, right? Like you see a big ownership discount playing those bottom in the order hitters. And I think that's where a lot of that sim ROI was coming from for this chalky team, right? Remember that this team is one of the highest owned teams on the slate. I'm not saying you need to do this with every team that you play, right? But maybe, if you're going to be playing some of the top stacks, some of the highest owned run totals, well, maybe that's a good way of getting different, right? And maybe that balances out your portfolio, because if you're playing, the chalky hitters with the chalky pitchers, you need to like hit the nuts on that combination because they have so much ownership, right? But you play them a little bit differently, stack construction wise, then you might be in a little bit of a better place. So, when it doesn't look like you're doing anything that wrong in contest flashback, number one, that's a good thing. And then number two is maybe you need to dig a little bit deeper about how you can make changes to get better. And, we kind of showed how to do that right now with one person set. If I was doing this for myself and I was like really, really trying to get better here, I would be doing that for multiple people. I would be doing that for the top 3 sets. Go do the top sim ROI, go do the second top sim ROI, third top sim ROI, compare their top sim ROI lineups, see what they're doing different, and see if you can use that in your own building next time, and then see if your sim ROI increases here. So that's what I would be looking for, and that's what I would be trying to do. All right. Good stuff there. As far as everything you're doing, I didn't see anything, wrong. Everything looks solid. I didn't see anything weird like in the lineups or anything like that. We see some filters. We talked about this ownership one recently. I remember that. And then you have the ROI one. So I think you're doing a lot of right things. I would spend some time looking like kind of just like how we did and see if you can learn some things, or, take a model mimic master approach and see if you can steal some stuff from those other sets and make your own sim ROI go up. So that's what I'd be trying to do. All right, let's move on here. We got Karens, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, as our next person to bring up on the screen here. So let me get him loaded up. Appreciate the update, Raf. But hope that was helpful as a way of, showing everybody, hey, this is how I would be reviewing, and these are the things that I would be looking for, right? All right. So got our next person up here on the screen. They are on the pro plan, and they did play yesterday's main slate, so Monday. So let's jump in here and see what we're seeing. All right, seeing 28 lineups in the contest tab. So 20 in the $3, $5 single entry, 7 in the $5. So, I'm not sure if maybe you just don't have access to, contests under $3, because all of these are bigger prize pool contests where all the players in the lobby have access to them. So if it's a situation where, you just don't have access to lower stakes contests, then this is a good mix to play, right? If this is the case, then I think it's okay. Now, if you do have access to lower stakes contests, I would definitely be playing them, right? So I would be playing the dime times, the quarter, the $1.20 max, the $1 single, the $3 single, the $1 3 max, the $3 3 max, right? Mix in all of those contests. So, it's important to have a balance of single entry and 3 max and 20 and 150 here. Like even in this, set, I would be adding more single entry. I would probably be playing the $3 5 max. I would be playing the $1, the one entry $12, right? Mix in some of those. If that's the case, I would definitely be adding those to my contest mix. But if you have access to the lower stakes, definitely play them. All right, let's jump into a build here. So loading up build 1. And it looks like he built all the lineups together. Sorting by Saber score. That's good. Let's drop this tab down. We have a filter here. Okay. So these are kind of interesting. So we have 95th percentile, greater than 151. And then we have ownership less than 190. Raph told me still black or blank screen. It looks right on my side. I'm seeing SaberSim. I don't have. Interesting that I'm seeing something completely different. Usually, like if it's like spinning or something, I can usually see it on my side. Let me check here, see what's going on. Huh, that's so weird. Let me try removing this. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of the screen share, and then I'm going to try to re-add the screen share. And let's bring this up on screen. So Raph is telling me that works. So I don't know why, but I stopped the screen share and then I re-added it. So it seems like it's good now. But what we're talking about are these two filters. What I would do is I would add these separately. I don't know where you got these values from. I'm not going to question the viability of either of these because we've talked about an ownership filter, right? We haven't talked about a percentile filter, but you could probably use it in a similar fashion that you do projected score. What I'm mostly concerned about is how many lineups are in the trash as a count of these filters, right? So what I would recommend doing is I'm just going to write these down. So we have 151, 95th. We have 190 own. 95th is greater than. And then the ownership is less than. So let's turn this off. Now we have no lineups in the trash. And then I would add a filter where it's ownership. We said less than 190. So interesting, right? This is having a minimal impact. We saw 3,990 lineups in the trash. Well, about 3,800 of them came from that 95th percentile filter. So I would almost say that this ownership filter isn't aggressive enough. And then I would say that, the percentile filter is maybe too aggressive, right? 95th greater than 151 is what it was. And then that adds like 3,800 lineups to the trash. So what I would do is I would be more aggressive with the ownership, and then I would loosen the constraint on the 95th here to open this up a little bit. I think it's okay to come in here and filter your pull down. I just think that if you're trashing so many lineups, maybe you need to relax it a little bit and, lower this number maybe to like 145, right? What does that do? Okay, that gets rid of 2,000 lineups. That's, maybe still a little too aggressive, right? That's like 40%. If you're getting rid of like 1,000 lineups, that would probably be the max for me. So 140 is like 6 something. So I'm going to increase this 142. This seems about right? We're getting about 1,000 lineups in the trash from the percentile filter. And then I can lower the ownership one even more, maybe to 180. That gets rid of like 300 lineups. $170 gets rid of like 500, and then you can just keep lowering it and lowering it until you get the impact you want. But I don't even mind 170, right? 170 gets rid of like 500-ish lineups. That's 10%. So now you've gotten rid of 10% of lineups with ownership, 20% of lineups with percentile. And, this is a better balance of the two. But this is also a good reason to do the filters separately as opposed to together, so you can see the impact that each one has. So that's something that I would be working in here. Sort by exposures. Not very opinionated, which is totally fine. Exposures look good. Leverages look good compared to ownership. Don't hate this at all. So see, I like this, right? He gets to mini unique of 6, and then he adds 1 max exposure to pitchers, which is this guy, Kai Bush. I think that's totally okay. This guy, I'm almost positive he got called up from AAA yesterday. So he's in a situation where it's like, hey, this guy's, rookie coming out of the minors. Maybe I just don't want to be that leveraged. Maybe I'm okay being 3x his ownership or 2.5x, right? I think that's enough for me. I think that's totally good. I think that's a great approach. Not super opinionated on batters. Looks like San Francisco was very, very chalky yesterday. So this all looks good. I think the last thing that we didn't do that I want to do is come in here and look at the sim ROI. So let's look at the $3.20 max sim ROI and see how they grade it out. All right, enter 20 lineups, set a filter for 20, sort by sim ROI. And one of the top sim ROIers here, we're looking like the top 15 to 20 sim ROIers here, which is solid stuff. Good average salary, sim ROI. Like the top sim ROI is 20 followed by 18, and he's sitting at 14%. Like this looks good. Sim average score is right in between this big mix of people here. We see people with 17 to 20% sim ROI with sim average scores ranging from 107 down to 98, and he's sitting at 100 here. So I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. So all of this looks really good. I think the biggest takeaway here is, one, the contest selection. If you have access to lower stakes contests, play them. And then number 2 is the aggressiveness of your filters. Do them separately, see the effect they have, and try to get a 10 to 20% of the lineups in the trash at most. And I think if you do that, then possibly even top of the list, right? So good stuff. You're on the right track already. You're a very high sim ROI portfolio, and make some of these adjustments and let me know how they go. All right. Good stuff there. We have one more person here on the list at the moment. So let's get them up on the screen. Just getting them loaded up here. Interesting. They told me that they played the main slate yesterday, but I'm not seeing any builds here. So really strange. Just try one more time. And I have one other idea. All right. If this doesn't work, might have to circle back. But let's hope this works. All right, let's see if we can get this up. Oh, I'm not seeing the builds. So we were going to do Sick Hemi today, but I'm not seeing builds here. So I'll reach out to him and we'll see if we can get that worked out so we can get him on the show for tomorrow. But with that said, we have Sick Hemi for tomorrow. It looks like we might possibly have sheets as well from True DFS. So would be really excited to dive into his lineups. He told me that he was going to even record a video talking about how he even made some of the decisions that he made. So he's going to do that tonight. And then we have the opportunity to, see how his lineups grade out tomorrow. So I'm really excited to review his lineups tomorrow, but all of that sounds great. Let me check the Discord really quickly here, make sure we're not missing anybody that signed up. And we are not. So great. So I think that is going to be it for today's show. If anybody wants to have their builds reviewed live on stream, all you got to do is drop your username in the Office Hours channel in Discord, and we will get you on the list for tomorrow. But I will see you guys at 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for Office Hours, and then we'll have the build review show at 5 p.m. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Until then, take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.